Good morning. I'm so glad to be back with you. I was here last month, and it is really an honor for me to be with all of you. Look up the definition of human in the Oxford Dictionary, and you get human being, especially a person as distinguished from an animal. Interesting, the definition does not reveal much about the qualities we humans possess. How about turning the word human into an adjective and define humane? Having or showing compassion or benevolence. Empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another, is considered an essential characteristic of humanity. Its absence is often compared to a lack of humanity. Empathy is fundamental to human connection, cooperation, and living in community. It matters because this universal human experience affects us all. With the decrease in humanity expressing empathy, narcissism is on the rise around the world, particularly in the West. It manifests itself in the increase of xenophobia, racism, and misogyny. As our empathy decreases, we pay less attention to others around the world who are suffering, provide less support, and carry on with our lives while millions are so negatively impacted. Ouch. Common traits of that of one who is unempathetic, may I dare say one who is narcissistic, are demonstrates an inability to understand others, grandiose sense of self-importance, has difficulty regulating emotions, seeks constant attention and praise, engages in excessive criticism, believes they're better than others, exhibits extreme impatience, blames the victim in such a situation rather than the perpetrator, is unwilling to forgive others for mistakes or weaknesses, possesses poor listening skills, is self-centered, self-focused, has a difficult time being considerate of others, takes advantage of others to achieve their goals, possesses a deep-seated insecurity. To be sure, narcissism is at great odds with empathy. Whenever people are disturbed or troubled or hurting or dealing with serious problems, they want to feel that other people understand what they're going through and are concerned. It would appear that too many people in difficult situations are encountering indifference. The fundamental weakness of Western civilization is empathy. Really, Mr. Musk? In an article from The Guardian, Loathe Thy Neighbor, he is quoted as saying that, the author being Julian Carrie Wong. It appeared in April of this year. How about this? A fundamental weakness of Western civilization is the loss of empathy, which is fundamental to human connection, cooperation, and community. Loathe thy neighbor. I rather prefer love thy neighbor, Mr. Musk. So what are the possible contributing factors to the decline of empathy, loathing our neighbor? Increased individualism. Western societies in particular are becoming more individualistic, leading to a decreased focus on the well-being of another and therefore less empathy for the other. Stress and mental health issues can impact feelings one might have for another. Digital isolation and social media Spending so much time interacting with others online rather than in person impacts a real connection with another. Extensive technology use can lead to a decline in empathy, not only because of fewer opportunities for empathetic interactions, but because of the immense time it consumes. This leaves little room for live, real human in-person connection. Social media in particular isolates the user by being addictive and restricting them to a particular platform. Because it thrives on people sharing their personal experiences themselves online, they become increasingly concerned about me, how they represent themselves, leaving little room to care about and empathize with others. Me, me, me. Desensitization to violence. Never-ending stories, articles, political commentaries, and debates. There's only so much tragedy we humans can take in on a regular basis. Constant bombardment with news reports of wars, conflicts, shootings, anaconda, violence, death leads to desensitization. And this desensitization to violence in the news leads to reduced emotional responses and diminished empathy. Changes in family structures as seen in looser social ties, smaller family size, time constraints, and very busy lives limits time spent together. And with smaller families, it's been found that children are less likely to learn about and practice empathy. And a parenting style characterized by high control, low warmth, and responsiveness is not a model for exhibiting compassion and empathy in children. So what's the impact of all of this? Empathy is, as I just said, an essential characteristic of being a human being. It is a foundational component to feeling compassion for others, building trust with others, helping those we care about through hard times. Without a sense of empathy, a person will struggle to care about anyone other than themselves and will find it difficult to care about listening to or helping others. Will have difficulty maintaining healthy relationships and working to affect positive change in their community. Will they even bother? Why should they? The fundamental weakness of Western civilization is empathy. Really? Really? I would suggest that this growing decrease in understanding and sharing feelings with others, of caring for others, about others, of connecting with each other, of cooperating with each other for the common good, leads to, no surprise to any of you, I'm sure, greater polarization, misunderstandings, and conflict. I believe leading to a weaker civilization, certainly not a stronger one. Fixing this empathy deficit is a challenge because it's not just a matter of having good political leaders or people treating each other with goodwill and respect. When people are surveyed as to how they define empathy, the range of answers is very wide. Some people think it's about feeling. Others focus on what a person does or says. Some think it's being good at reading someone's nonverbal cues, while others include the mental orientation of putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. Still, others see empathy as the ability or effort to imagine others' feelings or just feeling connected or relating to someone. Some think it's a moral stance to be concerned about another person's welfare and desire to help them out. Woke? Sometimes it seems like empathy is just another way of saying, be nice and be a decent person, will you? All this being said, the bottom line is that most people see empathy as having something to do with understanding what other people are going through and being concerned about them. And it can be suggested this is what people today feel they're lacking. And it appears from what I've read on this topic that empathy is clearly on people's minds more than it has been in the past. They're exposed on a daily basis to a seemingly absence of it. In a virtual presentation I watched recently called A Conversation About Hope, one of the featured speakers was Bishop Mary Ann Budde of the Episcopal Diocese of Washington, D.C. You may remember her speaking the day after the inauguration. She spoke to what resistance in the environment we find ourselves living in right now might look like. Doing the opposite of not caring about one another. I heard empathy. I heard love, mercy, truthfulness, compassion, generosity. Yes, having empathy for each other and having hope while we're at it. According to Jennifer Rubin, a writer for Washington Post, the lack of empathy has been manifested in things I've already talked about: an erosion of civility, decency, and compassion in our society. We see it in political polarization, us versus them thinking styles, hate crimes, and the demonizing of immigrants and refugees. Whatever the reasons for the decline in levels of empathy, she offers up this: something has to change. We cannot sit by and ignore what is happening in our world. Notice our world, because we have been fortunate to have been born or to exist on the right continent. We owe it to ourselves and all of humanity to pay attention to victims of violence, famine, and national disaster, and to offer up as much support as we can. I would also offer up that we could be those very victims. Regardless of our capabilities to provide financial or material support, we must once again, she says, learn as a civilization to empathize. Might we be stronger? We will meet dire consequences, she suggests, if we continue to travel down this road of declining empathy. It will become more challenging for us to deal with important issues like our climate reality, inequality, displacement, war, famine, violence. And if we don't revive our empathy, she suggests, this critical human characteristic will wither away, leaving us with a far weaker civilization marked by its inability, its no desire to connect, cooperate, and work for the common good in a community. Is there any hope in all of this? Well, I would suggest there is, because I, for one, sit in hope every day. Some research indicates that empathy may be on the rise again, particularly among younger generations, with some studies showing it's beginning to return to that which was in the 1970s. Generation Z, birth dates 1990 to 2010, appear to be actively working to build a more empathetic culture. Generation Alpha, 2013 to 2025, growing up with increased awareness of global issues and diverse representation in media, is more likely to be socially conscious and advocate for inclusivity and fairness. They both value diversity, inclusion, and are more likely to be comfortable interacting with people from different backgrounds. And these things appear to be driving many of these kids, young people, I think they're younger than me, young people doing or making their life decisions. So what are we seeing around us? Well, I serve a church in Big Timber, and recently on July 19th, their names will be known. 247 children, babies and children, buried in Mountain View Cemetery with no name. And 3 years later, profound research uncovered them, and there's a monument honoring them. And I was there for that dedication. I get HRDC, Human Resource Development Council's newsletter every week. Yes, they have paid staff, but they have a heck of a lot of volunteers who care about what is going on with the people they serve. I also get, and I'm not sure that you are familiar with this, how many of you are familiar with Sojourners Magazine, Jim Wallace? All right. This recent one talked about a garden bought for $1 by a group in the city of Baltimore to fill in a food desert by doing a community garden. And I want to commend 2 documentaries to you because they both express the worst and the best of us. One is a 2016 Academy Award documentary called The White Helmets. Anybody ever see that? It's about the war in Syria. And these white helmets, volunteer white helmets, and go in to a bombed area and save lives. And at that date, they had saved 38,000 lives. And one of them said, to save one life is to save all of humanity. And finally, I want to mention 20 Days in Mariupol, which was a frontline AP documentary on the first 20 days of the war in Ukraine. Made me sick, and it made me find hope. The fundamental weakness of Western civilization is empathy. Plain and simple, I refuse to agree. I offer this life-giving challenge to each of us. Let's commit to looking for, practicing and modeling for ourselves and others empathy every day of our lives. Always remembering that the universal values of compassion and true human connection provide a profound hope for all of us who find ourselves living in this world together. So be it.